Have you ever waited so long for something that even the pain began to feel like hope? Before we start, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Try to watch the videos as long as possible by watching more often. YouTube will promote these stories to a larger audience, grow your channel, and bring you more interesting things. Let's start now. After completing his examination, the doctor sighed thoughtfully and ordered blood testing. He explained this would provide definitive confirmation, though the physical signs appeared promising. From his office, I proceeded directly to the laboratory, then returned home filled with anticipation. Days of anxious waiting followed while symptoms persisted. Strangely, I welcomed the morning sickness that had become my constant companion. 1 week later, I returned for my results. If you've ever waited for an answer that could change everything, leave a 4 so she knows she's not alone. Dr. Atticus Fletcher unsealed the envelope, reviewed its contents, and announced the words I had longed to hear throughout 20 years of marriage. Willow Parker, you are expecting a child. The blood test confirmed my condition beyond doubt, and I felt my heart pounding so forcefully I feared losing consciousness. Rising slowly from my chair, my head spinning with emotion, tears flowed freely down my cheeks. The miracle had finally occurred. After 2 decades of marriage, my precious seed had taken root at last. The doctor cautioned against excessive excitement and warned that due to my advanced maternal age, mine constituted a high-risk pregnancy. He advised limited physical activity and exertion. I departed his office in a dreamlike state, barely comprehending his instructions. The return bus journey passed in a blur of emotion. Caleb was tending our garden upon my arrival home. As was his custom during pleasant weather, I paused at our gate, my heart racing with anticipation. He glanced up, smiled warmly without comprehending the significance of the moment. I extended my hand toward him, and he approached with confusion, evident in his expression. "Caleb," I whispered, my voice breaking with emotion. "We've succeeded. I'm carrying our child." He froze momentarily, eyes widening in disbelief, then embraced me with such intensity I struggled to breathe properly. From that momentous day forward, our lives transformed completely. Caleb attended to every detail with meticulous care, determined to create perfection for our long-awaited child. He personally mixed paint for the nursery, selecting a delicate yellow shade that suffused the small room with gentle, welcoming illumination. We prepared equally for either gender, leaving the final determination to divine will. With his skilled carpenter's hands, Caleb crafted an exquisite crib from timber he personally selected, cut, and shaped with extraordinary devotion. Every aspect of our preparation reflected the profound love we held for this precious life growing within me. Initially skeptical, our extended family finally accepted my condition as my abdomen gradually expanded. Only then did they fully embrace the reality of our impending parenthood. Yet underlying anxiety persisted. Each medical consultation generated apprehension. Without modern ultrasound technology, we relied entirely on Dr. Fletcher's manual examinations and interpretations. I scrutinized his every facial expression, desperately seeking reassurance that development proceeded normally. Then, during my final trimester, shortly after completing 8 months gestation, our deepest fears materialized. Unexplained contractions began occurring with alarming frequency and escalating intensity. One morning, I awakened, experiencing such excruciating pain, I could barely rise from our bed. Caleb gathered me into his strong arms, declaring immediate medical intervention necessary. However, our most expedient transportation option was Mr. Hawkins' aged Ford pickup truck borrowed from our neighbor. The journey to medical assistance seemed interminable. Each irregularity in the unpaved road sent waves of agony through my body, comparable to knife wounds. Upon finally reaching our destination, we entered Whispering Pines Regional Hospital in evident distress. An observant nurse immediately recognized our emergency and summoned Dr. Atticus Fletcher, who had already ordered my immediate admission before personally arriving. Meanwhile, I experienced overwhelming dread that our precious child faced imminent danger. Hospital staff directed me to a sterile examination room where I continued offering desperate prayers for divine intervention to protect my baby. Unfortunately, the contractions intensified relentlessly. Then, during midnight hours, the pain became truly unbearable. My screams likely carried sufficient volume to reach my mother's distant residence. Caleb appeared horrified, witnessing my suffering. "Doctor!" Atticus Fletcher rushed into the room accompanied by nursing staff. And amidst this crisis, our tiny son entered this world, small and fragile as a newly hatched bird. I barely glimpsed my infant before medical personnel whisked him away to emergency resuscitation facilities, explaining the necessity for immediate intervention, unlike healthy newborns. He produced no lusty cry announcing his arrival. I remained motionless, silently pleading with every saint whose name I recalled. After what felt like eternity, physicians returned wearing grave expressions. They delivered the devastating news I most dreaded: our precious son had not survived. In that devastating moment, darkness enveloped my world entirely. An essential part of my being perished within that hospital room. I felt hollow, devoid of substance or purpose. Caleb maintained his position beside me, but his formerly hopeful gaze now reflected utter desolation. Words failed both of us in confronting this overwhelming tragedy. Medical staff explained they had implemented every possible life-saving measure, but our infant had been too premature to sustain independent existence. Dr. Atticus Fletcher attempted compassionate explanation, suggesting that nature occasionally follows cruel and incomprehensible paths. But no rationalization could possibly mitigate my devastating loss. I requested the opportunity to hold my son despite his lifelessness. Caleb, demonstrating characteristic strength despite his own grief, requested they bring our child's small body. I cradled him in my arms, feeling his negligible weight. We had conceived a son, but never selected a name. Holding him, I wept with unprecedented anguish. The emptiness overwhelmed me so completely. I doubted my capacity to ever emerge from such profound despair. Caleb remained steadfastly present, his tears flowing as freely as mine. After considerable time passed, he approached and gently placed his hand upon my shoulder, his voice breaking with emotion. "Will, he deserves dignified rest. Let's take our boy home for proper burial." Caleb's words struck me with unexpected force. How could we possibly bury this child I'd barely met? I resisted relinquishing my brief connection, yet I recognized the wisdom in his suggestion. Dr. Atticus Fletcher recommended extended hospitalization for my physical recovery. However, I implored release, explaining, "Doctor, please understand my need to leave this environment. Each moment here intensifies my suffering." Recognizing my psychological distress, he reluctantly agreed to discharge upon my promise of complete bed rest at home. "Mrs. Parker," he cautioned, "you must commit to absolute rest without physical exertion." "Understood," I agreed to all conditions, desperate to escape the location of my greatest heartbreak. We departed carrying detailed medical instructions and prescribed medications, though my paramount desire was simply distance from the scene of devastating loss. That gray, overcast morning found us returning home with shattered hearts. Caleb requested Mr. Hawkins' assistance transporting our infant's remains. I held my son as though he merely slumbered peacefully. We jointly decided against immediately notifying extended family. This profound grief felt intensely personal, resistant to sharing. I couldn't tolerate well-intentioned but ultimately hollow consolation attempts. Divine will determined this outcome. He resides in a better place now. Such platitudes would have exceeded my emotional endurance. We arrived at our residence as evening shadows lengthened. Silently, Caleb ventured outdoors while I followed instinctively, using his bare hands. He began excavating a small grave beneath the maple tree where I had experienced my first pregnancy symptoms. I observed through tears as he labored with reddened eyes. Upon completion, he gestured for me to approach. With trembling hands, I gently placed our precious boy into the earth's embrace. Caleb held me tightly, whispering, "He remains eternally connected to us. Will, always." I nodded, struggling to accept his reassurance, though crushing grief made normal breathing nearly impossible. As darkness descended and cold wind rustled through branches, I closed my eyes and whispered, "Rest peacefully, my precious angel." As the final shovelful of soil covered the diminutive grave, an extraordinary sound reached us. A feeble noise resembling a weak moan. My heart momentarily ceased beating. I remained motionless, holding my breath, initially dismissing it as imagination. Then again came that sound, a faint cry, nearly imperceptible, seemingly emanating from beneath the freshly turned earth. "Caleb, did you hear that?" I asked, my voice quavering uncontrollably. He regarded me with alarmed expression. Then the sound grew louder. Without hesitation, we frantically began excavating the recently deposited soil. And there, beneath the freshly disturbed earth, lay our infant son, incredibly fragile, impossibly small, but undeniably alive. His eyes remained closed, his tiny form shivering, but miraculous breath animated his chest. I gathered him into my embrace, scarcely believing the evidence before my eyes. "Dear God, he lives!" I exclaimed, tears of indescribable relief mingling with overwhelming panic. Caleb dropped to his knees beside me, eyes expanded with astonishment. We struggled comprehending this inexplicable development. Our son, pronounced deceased by medical professionals, now emitted soft cries, fighting determinedly for survival. "We must return to the hospital immediately," Caleb declared, his voice elevated with urgency. We raced indoors like people possessed. I removed the soiled blanket from my infant and selected a clean one stored in our closet. I wrapped him with extraordinary gentleness, handling him as though fashioned from delicate crystal. Once again, we secured transportation with Mr. Hawkins. When he observed us approaching with our living child, his complexion blanched dramatically. "A miracle," he exclaimed with conviction. "A divine miracle manifested before us." He drove while simultaneously praying aloud, beseeching divine protection for our tiny survivor. The return journey to medical assistance seemed interminable. Each passing moment represented excruciating suspense. I cradled my infant against my chest, feeling his fragile respirations, terrified they might cease without warning. When we finally reached the hospital, we encountered Dr. Atticus Fletcher, coincidentally completing his shift. His expression upon seeing us approaching with our moving, breathing child resembled someone witnessing supernatural apparition. His complexion drained completely as he observed the infant stirring in my arms. "Doctor." Fletcher approached cautiously, seemingly apprehensive. He examined our baby, then regarded me, then Caleb, before returning his attention to our child. Then he whispered, his voice trembling noticeably. "Merciful heavens, how can this possibly be explained?" Our infant received immediate critical care. Medical personnel rushed frantically between departments while I remained motionless. Hardly believing these extraordinary developments, Caleb embraced me, equally speechless. We exchanged wordless glances, both experiencing profound shock. We had witnessed genuine miracle, defying rational explanation. However, we recognized the battle for survival continued. Our son had fought to return, but could his fragile form endure the challenges ahead? Following Dr. Atticus Fletcher's departure with our infant to intensive care, Caleb and I remained in the corridor, still processing these incredible events. Suddenly, I experienced disturbing symptoms. Weakness pervaded my body. My legs trembled uncontrollably, and intense heat suffused my face. Glancing downward, I observed alarming crimson staining spreading across my clothing. My body, already severely compromised, began failing catastrophically. "Caleb." I attempted speaking, but words failed as blood began flowing copiously. I felt consciousness rapidly diminishing as physical control abandoned me completely. The sensation of helplessness proved overwhelming. I knew the situation had become critical. "She's hemorrhaging severely," someone shouted from seemingly great distance. And suddenly, I was rushed to another hospital wing. Caleb's concerned face vanished from view, and for the first time in decades, I experienced genuine fear, not merely for our infant, but for myself as well. I closed my eyes, feeling my body placed upon a gurney while unfamiliar faces moved urgently around me. The hospital's bright lights appeared to rotate above me, and terrible coldness invaded my extremities. Unknown time elapsed before regaining consciousness in unfamiliar surroundings. My body thoroughly depleted, and my mind disoriented. Caleb maintained vigilance beside me, his appearance haggard and his hands visibly trembling. He clasped my hand, and I detected profound fear in his expression. "Will, I beseech you, don't abandon me too," he whispered, his voice constricted with anguish. The attending nurse explained I had experienced severe hemorrhage, requiring emergency medical intervention. They explained the extraordinary effort to save our son had imposed excessive strain upon my body, still fragile following childbirth. They indicated substantial blood loss had occurred, and that medical observation would be necessary. They emphasized that the physical exertion had proven dangerously excessive for my weakened condition. I understood conceptually, but remained incapable of focusing on personal welfare. My exclusive concern remained our tiny infant fighting alone in neonatal intensive care. I attempted rising, desperate to reach him, but my unresponsive body refused cooperation. Overwhelmed by helplessness, I experienced despair's crushing weight. Caleb leaned forward, tenderly kissing my forehead while attempting to project calmness despite his evident anxiety. Our son demonstrates your identical resilience. We shall overcome these challenges together. Will? Our family united. His words offered comfort despite my recognition that significant obstacles remained before us. I remained confined to that unyielding hospital bed, contemplating our precious infant. My physical discomfort paled compared to the emotional constriction knowing he fought for survival without maternal presence. It seemed each second stretched eternally. Caleb maintained constant movement between departments, delivering updates from neonatal intensive care, though I detected increasing exhaustion and apprehension shadowing his features. Nevertheless, his determination never faltered. He demonstrates remarkable strength. Will, he's determinedly fighting. News spread rapidly throughout the community. Soon my mother-in-law, Tallulah, father-in-law, Silas, and my parents arrived at the hospital. I experienced genuine astonishment observing Tallulah, normally commanding and authoritative, appearing subdued, speaking softly, displaying unprecedented politeness. This transformation surprised me considerably. Apparently, our extraordinary circumstances had softened even her formidable temperament. Visitor duration was strictly limited to 20 minutes per session, partially because I shared accommodations with 3 additional patients and medical staff wished to maintain tranquility. My mother appeared devastated, witnessing her daughter endure such trauma. Her complexion appeared unnaturally pale. Her eyes reddened from prolonged crying. She remained beside my bed, clutching my hand supportively, while my father, traditionally stoic and emotionally restrained, displayed uncharacteristic emotional vulnerability. The entire family appeared stunned by recent developments. They behaved as though witnessing divine intervention manifested directly before them. Despite physical exhaustion, I experienced profound relief having family present during this crisis. Though no one received authorization to visit the infant, everyone expressed curiosity regarding his name. Caleb and I exchanged meaningful glances. Amidst the chaos, we had lacked opportunity to formally announce our selection, though we had determined his name immediately following his miraculous revival. Phoenix, I announced, my voice resonating with deep significance. Phoenix Parker? Caleb confirmed. I've already completed legal registration at the courthouse. Our precious Phoenix, my mother, possessing extensive biblical knowledge, displayed emotional recognition. Phoenix, she repeated gently. The miraculous being who rises from ashes. I elaborated for family understanding. Yes, Mother. Phoenix emerged from death's ashes precisely as our son has done. Everyone observed respectful silence, absorbing the profound symbolism inherent in our selection. Our precious Phoenix, who had temporarily resided in death's embrace before returning to life. The name perfectly encapsulated his extraordinary beginning. Tallulah, once again surprising everyone present, spoke first. A powerful name carrying profound significance. This child shall possess remarkable stories to share. Thus, our family formally acknowledged our infant warrior who had defied mortality would henceforth be known as Phoenix, a name embodying his miraculous narrative. Following family departure, I again experienced the situation's gravity. Though physically improving, my heart remained constricted with concern for Phoenix. Each time Caleb entered my room, I would suspend breathing, anticipating news. The suspense proved nearly unbearable until one afternoon when Caleb entered wearing a broad smile. Will, he announced joyfully. Dr. Atticus Fletcher reports our son shows positive response to treatment. Upon hearing these encouraging developments, I suddenly discovered renewed strength. I insisted so persistently with nursing staff that they eventually relented and transported me to visit Phoenix in neonatal intensive care. I progressed slowly on unsteady legs. Upon entering the specialized unit, I experienced profound shock. The environment appeared intimidating, filled with imposing, noisy medical equipment. The pervasive odor of antiseptic and pharmaceutical preparations provoked nausea. Then I glimpsed him, my precious Phoenix. There he lay within the incubator, resembling a vulnerable fledgling prematurely fallen from maternal nest, surrounded by medical technology, appearing impossibly fragile, yet remarkably, despite overwhelming circumstances. He displayed extraordinary determination, breathing rapidly, fighting persistently, and most impressively, exhibiting beautiful, healthy coloration. You embody true warrior spirit. My beloved, I whispered, placing my palm against the transparent barrier. The attending nurses regarded me sympathetically, but their opinions held no significance. I remained seated, conversing with him as though comprehension existed. I described how desperately he had been desired, how his father anxiously awaited opportunity to hold his tiny hand, and miraculously, he responded with subtle movement, sufficient to convince me he recognized maternal presence, that he understood his mother maintained vigilant proximity. Medical discharge occurred after 4 days, but Caleb and I returned daily to the hospital to monitor our precious infant's progress. Initially, circumstances proved challenging. Phoenix remained confined within an incubator resembling a miniature transparent enclosure. His diminutive form appeared overwhelmed within that environment. During initial visits, direct contact remained prohibited. Nursing staff permitted us to extend our hands through specialized openings in the incubator for gentle caresses only. We maintained visual contact, offering quiet prayers throughout our visits. The nursing personnel demonstrated exceptional compassion, consistently offering encouragement. Communicate with him, they advised. He recognizes parental voices. Consequently, I maintained constant verbal interaction with my son, describing home environment awaiting him, promising that very soon he would join us in our modest residence. Gradually, through divine intervention, positive response became evident. Initial improvement manifested in cardiac function. Medical staff reported increasing strength and regularity. Additionally, he began accumulating weight. Though minimal initially, mere grams daily. Each incremental increase represented tremendous victory from our perspective. Having departed hospital confinement, continuous presence became impossible. So I expressed breast milk at home and transported it to the hospital daily. This represented significant sacrifice during that era. Modern electric breast pumps remained unavailable. Manual expression proved necessary. Occasional discomfort and nipple damage occurred, but determination never wavered. I recognized the nutritional importance for my vulnerable infant. When informed he had begun consuming the milk I provided, indescribable joy overwhelmed me. Initially, administration occurred through nasogastric tubing, subsequently transitioning to specialized infant bottles. Quantities remained minimal initially, but definite progress occurred. Days passed, and our nightmare gradually transformed into cautious optimism. Caleb worked double shifts to maintain financial stability. Daytime employment at his carpentry business, nighttime vigils at the hospital with Phoenix. I maintained daytime hospital presence while he supervised nighttime care. Though we seldom encountered one another, we recognized the necessity of our arrangement. Dr. Atticus Fletcher provided exceptional care, consistently offering clear medical explanations. The unprecedented moment I first held Phoenix against my heart defies adequate description. Nursing staff assisted removing him from incubator confines. His negligible weight suggested extreme fragility. but experiencing his warmth against my chest produced emotions transcending verbal expression. As days progressed, we celebrated each developmental milestone. His initial eye-opening experience, the first occasion his diminutive fingers grasped mine. Each moment represented divine blessing bestowed upon our family. Phoenix demonstrated consistent improvement. Medical staff gradually removed supportive equipment. First, the respiratory assistance, subsequently additional monitoring devices. Each removal represented significant progress. Observing his independent respiration without mechanical intervention constituted incredible blessing. Then arrived the momentous opportunity for direct breastfeeding. The emotional impact proved overwhelming. His diminutive size initially complicated proper latching technique, but nursing staff provided expert guidance, and gradually he mastered the process. We maintained unwavering daily presence without exception. Occasionally, challenging days occurred. Progress wasn't consistently positive. Occasional weight regression occurred. Following such setbacks, we departed emotionally devastated, yet invariably returned the subsequent day maintaining faith and optimism. Fellow mothers with infants in neonatal intensive care provided invaluable emotional support. We shared experiences, offered encouragement during difficulties. Some had experienced extended hospital stays exceeding hours, while others had recently arrived. Universal mutual assistance prevailed throughout. After approximately 2 months that seemed eternal, Dr. Atticus Fletcher delivered the announcement we had desperately anticipated. Phoenix had received medical clearance for home discharge. At that moment, indecision regarding appropriate emotional response overcame me. Laughter and tears competed equally. I stared at the physician, questioning whether I had misinterpreted his statement. Caleb, characteristically more decisive, immediately departed to complete home preparations. I remained at the hospital, attentively absorbing the physician's recommendations. Numerous details required memorization. Proper bathing techniques, breastfeeding methods, hygiene precautions. Information overload threatened my comprehension. Nursing staff assisted gathering Phoenix's belongings. They had developed profound attachment to our son during his extended hospitalization, openly weeping at separation. One particularly compassionate nurse, Nurse Wren, presented a handcrafted infant garment she had personally created for Phoenix. Emotional gratitude overwhelmed my capacity for adequate expression. When finally departing the hospital environment, dreamlike unreality pervaded the experience. Caleb driving, cautiously having borrowed his brother's vehicle, occupying the rear seat, cradling Phoenix protectively. Sunlight caressed his delicate features, causing repeated blinking adjustments to unaccustomed brightness. The sensation resembled witnessing second birth. I gazed upon that tiny rosebud face, finally reaching home, observed Caleb's meticulous preparations. The nursery we had arranged previously awaited immaculately prepared for Phoenix's arrival. Initial days following homecoming required significant adaptation, characterized by numerous challenges. Perpetual hypervigilance dominated our existence. Each minor vocalization Phoenix produced triggered immediate alert response. The experience proved emotionally exhausting. I vividly recall his first febrile episode as though occurring yesterday. Upon detecting his elevated body temperature during evening hours, panic immediately consumed me. Caleb awakened instantly, and we rushed toward the hospital, hearts pounding with dread. Upon arrival, I anticipated worst-case scenarios, fearing serious illness. But mercifully, the physician provided reassurance, explaining common infantile conditions unrelated to his previous medical crisis.
What if recurrence develops?
Doctor, I inquired desperately. Mrs. Parker, he responded compassionately. This child represents genuine miracle. He requires only proper care and abundant love, which clearly exists in abundance. Correct. We departed with significantly diminished anxiety, though residual concern persisted. However, the physician's assessment proved entirely accurate. Our Phoenix continued thriving. His appetite appeared insatiable. Nursing frequently, within several months, adorable chubbiness characterized his previously fragile frame. His legs developed delightful rolls of baby fat, creating irresistibly endearing appearance. Time progressed, and Phoenix developed into a healthy child, surprising many community members with his robust constitution. When Phoenix reached approximately 2 years of age, divine blessing manifested again. I conceived our daughter, Briar. During this subsequent pregnancy, fear maintained constant presence. Throughout gestation, I offered continuous prayers requesting less dramatic experience, and mercifully, this prayer received favorable response. Briar arrived punctually, displaying healthy plumpness and rosy complexion from birth. Time's passage continues. Regardless of personal preference, observing our children's harmonious development provided immeasurable joy. Phoenix demonstrated exceptional attentiveness as elder sibling, maintaining protective vigilance regarding his younger sister. Inseparable companionship characterized their relationship. Their activities remained perpetually synchronized. Phoenix demonstrated academic excellence, consistently achieving superior scholastic performance, earning teacher commendation regularly. From early childhood, he demonstrated distinct vocational inclination. He declared intention pursuing medical career. We responded positively while privately considering such aspirations potentially unrealistic. After all, within our modest community, who possessed financial resources sufficient for medical education expenses, nevertheless, his determination remained unwavering. He studied with extraordinary dedication, spending countless afternoons in the school library, consuming all available medical literature. When university entrance examination period arrived, he announced his participation intention. Caleb and I exchanged concerned glances, hearts constricted with uncertainty. How could we possibly finance medical education expenses astonishingly? He not only achieved admission, but secured full academic scholarship. Community-wide celebration erupted. Everyone eagerly congratulated the miracle child now embarking on medical career. His extraordinary narrative had permeated regional consciousness. Public recognition occurred frequently. Observe, there walks the child born apparently lifeless, who miraculously revived. Collegiate years presented significant challenges. Phoenix relocated to Nashville, separated from familial environment. I shed private tears nightly, fearing potential misfortune befalling my son beyond maternal protection. However, he demonstrated remarkable adaptation. He maintained rigorous academic schedule, secured part-time employment, supporting personal expenses, and unfailingly telephoned weekly, maintaining family connection. Meanwhile, domestic life progressed steadily. Caleb maintained carpentry operations at Parker Woodcraft and Furniture, creating exquisite furnishings. I supervised Briar's development, now blossoming into beautiful young woman. Together we continued producing confectionery for the Whispering Pines Saturday market. The girl demonstrated similar scholastic aptitude as her brother, but her exceptional artistic talent particularly impressed me. Observing her sketching fashion designs in tattered notebook, inspiration struck. I accumulated modest savings and purchased sewing equipment for her. Her reaction demonstrated boundless enthusiasm. Briar immediately began creating simple garments. Initial projects included basic skirts, but skill development occurred rapidly. We acquired fabric from local merchants, which she transformed into remarkably beautiful garments defying description. Her friends soon requested custom creations. Briar rapidly progressed to creating formal attire. Sunday church ensembles, even seasonal celebration costumes for community events. My wardrobe gradually filled with her beautiful creations. Observing my daughter's developmental progress and remarkable talent provided profound emotional satisfaction. Breyer purchased contemporary fashion publications from Nashville, filled with innovative concepts, while established local seamstresses continued producing traditional designs lacking originality. My daughter introduced such remarkable innovations that community members expressed initial skepticism. However, eventual universal demand developed for Breyer's distinctive creations. She possessed extraordinary fashion intuition, consistently anticipating emerging stylistic trends. Life inevitably presents unexpected challenges precisely when perfection appears attained. Phoenix approached graduation when devastating tragedy struck without warning. One Saturday afternoon, Caleb worked in his workshop constructing a commissioned cabinet. Suddenly, inexplicable chest constriction overcame me, accompanied by profound dread. I rushed toward his workspace and discovered my beloved husband collapsed upon the floor. Indescribable panic consumed me. I screamed desperately for assistance. Neighbors responded immediately, summoned emergency medical services. But upon reaching Whispering Pines Regional Hospital, intervention possibilities had expired. My precious Caleb had departed this world. Medical personnel identified myocardial infarction as causative factor, occurring with such rapidity that assistance requests proved impossible. I experienced complete disorientation. How could existence possibly continue without my lifetime companion? How would Breyer and I manage independently, and Phoenix, separated by distance? How would I communicate this devastating development? I telephoned my son, overcome with emotion. Momentary silence ensued, followed by his declaration of immediate return via earliest available transportation. He arrived during pre-dawn hours, eyes reddened from emotional release during journey. He embraced his sister and me, and we remained thus connected, our trinity united, collectively mourning Caleb's irreplaceable absence. Funeral services occurred the following day. The entire community attended to honor Caleb's memory. Universal appreciation existed for my husband's character, his consistent willingness to assist others, occasionally providing services without compensation for economically disadvantaged individuals. Community members approached individually, expressing condolences, sharing positive remembrances involving Caleb. Phoenix remained 1 week at home, managing all practical matters. He resolved administrative documents, assisted organizing workshop affairs, but inevitably required return to academic pursuits. Minimal time remained before graduation. Abandoning educational investment proved impractical at this juncture. Existence without Caleb proved indescribably challenging. I frequently awakened during nighttime hours, instinctively seeking his presence beside me. Reality's recollection inevitably triggered renewed emotional release. Nevertheless, life's progression continues regardless of personal preference. Correct, I necessarily continued functioning for my children's benefit. Breyer provided tremendous support throughout this difficult period, possessing remarkable strength and determination. She managed household responsibilities, assisted with confectionery production, continued seamstress activities, while maintaining academic performance. Observing her, I recognized Caleb's spirit manifested in her character. Temporal passage gradually diminished grief's acute intensity. Longing never completely dissipates, but adaptation eventually develops. Then, during a brilliantly sunny December day, long-anticipated news arrived. Phoenix had completed medical education requirements. Graduation ceremonies proved genuinely inspiring. Breyer and I attended in Nashville wearing our finest attire. Witnessing my son ascending the platform to receive his medical credentials nearly overwhelmed me emotionally. Thoughts of Caleb, imagining his immense paternal pride, provided bittersweet comfort. I attempted visualizing his spiritual presence, observing the proceedings. This conceptualization offered considerable solace. Following graduation, Phoenix elected returning to our community. He explained desiring proximity to Briar and me, providing familial protection. He secured employment at Whispering Pines Regional Hospital, the identical facility where his extraordinary life struggle had originally occurred. Phoenix rapidly established regional reputation for exceptional medical care. Community residents, with characteristic superstitious tendencies, began attributing divine selection status to him. They claimed that, similar to biblical Lazarus, our son had returned from death through divine intervention. The patient queue awaiting Phoenix's medical attention extended remarkably. Individuals traveled considerable distances, enduring hours of travel, specifically requesting his care. Other young physicians occasionally experienced reduced patient volume. Public confidence in Phoenix substantially exceeded colleagues. People demonstrated extraordinary faith in his abilities, frequently resulting in remarkable improvement even in challenging medical cases. Scientific principles and academic knowledge undoubtedly explained clinical success, but public perception emphasized miraculous elements, most admirable quality. Despite growing recognition, my son maintained genuine humility. He provided identical quality care regardless of socioeconomic status, occasionally extending professional hours beyond scheduled completion, ensuring comprehensive patient evaluation. His dedication mirrored paternal work ethic. Senior medical personnel quickly recognized Phoenix's exceptional qualities. Their respect developed not exclusively from clinical knowledge, but additionally from his compassionate patient approach. It appeared he had been destined for medical practice, as though every experience from extraordinary birth forward represented preparation for this vocation. Today, as I sit beneath this old maple tree, the very place where we buried and found Phoenix, I realize that time is the greatest miracle of all. Wounds may never fully heal, but they fade, like the marks Caleb once carved into wood. I have learned that pain never truly disappears, but it can become a part of us, making us stronger, deeper. Sometimes, when I watch Phoenix in his white coat caring for patients, or Briar crafting beautiful designs, I can't help but see Caleb in them. He lives on not just in our memories, but in every breath our children and grandchildren take. The despair we once knew has given way to a deep faith that love never truly dies. The true story of my life is not just about loss and miracles, but about the hidden strength within each of us to overcome the impossible. Every evening, as the sun sets, I feel grateful for every moment I have lived, loved, and witnessed life continuing through the next generations. If my story has touched your heart, please share it with your loved ones. Subscribe to stay connected to more everyday stories filled with wonder. Because sometimes, it is in our darkest moments that light finds a way to shine through.